Welcome to Add and Multiply Radicals. What I want to do first is refresh your memory of how we simplify a radical. So take your socks out of the dryer. Remember, first thing we have to do is make the tree for our numbers. So 250 would be 2 and 125. Then the 125 breaks down into 5 and 25. And the 25 breaks down into 5 and 5. So remember, we're always looking for pairs. So in here we have a pair of 5s. And all the pairs always go on the outside. So the 5 goes on the outside. And then the 2 and the 5, when they go on the inside, remember they are multiplying because all this that we came up with in the tree here came from knowing what multiplied. So 2 times 5 would give us 10. Now, with the variables, when we have x cubed, remember that's 3 x's. So that means I'm only going to have one pair of x's, and then my one left over goes inside. Then, when I look at the y's, y to the 5th means I have 5 y's. So with that, that means I'm going to have 2 pairs of y. So I have y squared on the outside, and again, one left over. And then that would be my answer of simplifying the radicals. So now what we're going to start with is how do we add and subtract when there's radicals? So here I have some steps for you. First thing you want to do is simplify the radicals. So that's what we were just doing, was taking the socks out of the dryer. You're going to have to do it for every single one of them, because the only way you can add and subtract or know what you can add and subtract is it has to have the same number in the radical. So that's our combining like terms, just like we would do with variables. X goes with x, so a square root of 2, you can only add to square root of 2. So let's go ahead and take a look at a problem here. So as I said, the first thing we need to do is simplify the radical. So we're going to start with the 45. 45 I know is 5 times 9. 5 is prime. So then the 9 breaks down into a 3 times a 3. And there I have a pair of 3's. So here's something new. What do I do with this 3 when there's already a 3 on the outside? Well, first thing you have to know that when I have the 3 next to the square root of 45, that means 3 times the square root of 45. So what it's going to do is it's going to end up being 3 from the pair of 3's times that 3, and then our leftover here was 5. So the first 3 comes from the original 3 that was here, the second 3 comes from the pair, and then the 5 that didn't have a pair left. So let's go ahead and do the next one. Square root of 80. Well, I know that would be a 2 and a 40, which then gives me a 4 and a 10. The 4 breaks down into 2 and 2, and the 10 breaks down into 5 and 2. So it looks like I have a pair of 2's and another pair of 2's up here with a 5 left over. So it looks like I didn't bring my work down. That's going to be minus the 5 from the original problem times the 2 times 2 that comes out, because the 2 pairs of 2, which would give us 4, and a square root of 5. Now let's go to the third one. We're going to simplify down the 20, which is a 4 times a 5. 5 is prime, so the 4 breaks down into 2 and 2. The 4 from the original problem comes straight down. Then we had a pair of 2's here, so that comes down. And then we had the leftover 5. So this now becomes 9 square root of 5 minus 20 square root of 5 plus 8 square root of 5. So since all of these are square root of 5, all I have to do is add and subtract the numbers in front. So 9 minus 20 would give us negative 11, plus 8 would give us a negative 3. So this would be a negative 3 square root of 5. Let's go ahead and take a look at that again. I want you to see what you can do here. Okay, remember, first thing we do is we need to simplify. So the 75 is 5. 75 is 3 times 25. Then the 25 breaks down into 5 and 5. We have the 3 from the original problem times 5. That's our pair. And then our 3 that's left over. Then we need to break down the 48, which is a 6 and 8. 6 breaks down into 3 and 2. The 8 breaks down into 4 and 2. And the 4 breaks down into 2 and 2. So again, we have 2 pairs of 2. So we bring down the minus sign in the 2 from the very beginning of the problem. We had 2, 2, so that gives me a 4. And then square root of 3, that's our leftover. And then the very last one, as you see, is just square root of 3, which does not break down at all. So square root of 3. Let's go ahead and simplify this. 3 times 5 is 15 times square root of 3 minus 8 square root of 3 plus square root of 3. 15 minus 8 would give us 7, and then plus the square root of 3. Remember, that's the same as 1 square root of 3, so that would give us 8 square root of 3. So let's go ahead and go on and talk about, well, how do we multiply? So when we multiply, we talked about this briefly once before. You take your outside number times your outside number, and your inside times the inside. Then you're going to simplify. So again, take your socks out of the dryer, and then if there's any like terms after you've simplified, then you're going to go ahead and do that. So let's take a look at a problem here. So here we have cube roots. So remember, when we do the tree, that we want to, actually we don't do the tree yet, sorry. First thing we need to do is outside times outside, inside times inside. So 5 times 1 would give us a 5. Then we have cube root of 100 times 10, which would give us a 1,000. And then a squared times a would give us a cubed. So now we're doing a cube root. So when I tree out the 1,000, I know I can go back to the original 100 times 10, which 100 breaks down to 10 times 10. The 10 gives us a 5 and a 2. And each of these 10s give us a 5 and a 2. Please remember, when we're doing cube roots, we're looking for 3 of the same number. So I have 3 5s and I have 3 2s. So this problem, we actually don't have any leftovers. So what happens, that 5 that's originally there stays there, times the 5 that we had 3 of, times the 2 that we had 3 of. So 5 times 5 is 25, times 2 is 50. And then don't forget about our nice little a cubed here. We need 3 of them. Well, a cubed means I have 3 of them, so when it comes out, it's just an a. So this problem did not have any leftovers, so our answer is 50a. Now let's do a problem that's just a little bit more. So what you are to notice on this problem, we have 1 2 terms times 1 2 terms. So we are going to have to go ahead and do the box. So let me draw out the box here. Or if you prefer, you can definitely FOIL. Be the same thing. I just like the box. So 2 square root of 3, remember that is 1 term. And then 3 square root of 5, and it was a plus sign. And then we have 3, and then a minus square root of 3. So we're going to go ahead and start with this 2 square root of 3 times 3. Since this 3 up here is on the outside, it can only multiply the 2 on the outside there. So 2 times 3 would give me 6, and then the square root of 3 stays the same. Now in this next one, where we have a minus square root of 3, this 3 is only on the inside, so it can only multiply to the square root of 3 that's on the inside here. So it does not affect that 2. What does is this minus sign, so negative 1 times 2 would be negative 2, and then square root of 9. Then we're going to go ahead, we have the 3 on top, the 3 up here, multiplied to the 3 square root of 5 here. So that would give us a 9 square root of 5. Okay, so the last one, we take the 3 square root of 5 times the minus square root of 3. Again, the 3 that's on the outside only multiplies to the negative. And then because we have the 5 that's inside here and the 3 that's inside there, when we multiply those, we get a square root of 15. So the next step then was to simplify. Well, when we look at this, we're always looking what's inside the radical, so a 3 is not going to break down. A 9 will break down, but the 5 here will not, and the 15 will not. So a lot of these are going to have some rather large answers. So we have 6 square root of 3, which was the first one, minus 2 times, well, the square root of 9 is 3, so now that just becomes 3. No square roots because the square root of 9 is just 3, not square root of 3. There's nothing left over. And then plus the 9 square root of 5 minus the 3 square root of 15. So to finish simplifying, it now becomes 6 square root of 3 minus 6 plus 9 square root of 5 minus 3 square root of 15. And then that long thing is your answer. And that is it for today.